Anyway, welcome to Simon Chartier's New York Stories. I haven't done one in a while. I'm not doing them as much now because it's summer. It's warm out. It's nice out. I'm outdoors a lot. You know me. I got to be outdoors on a nice day. I was always like that since I was about 17. You know, the outdoor bug bit me, and if it wasn't like the bear, bear shell, sheep's meadow in Central Park, then it was like Rockaway, and I gotta be outdoors. So it's raining now, big thunderstorms, raining like crazy. So good time to do another New York story. And if you like these stories, think about maybe putting a couple of virtual tips in my PayPal. Uh, I need you more than I need the money, but it helps me make a living. The music business ain't really happening like it was before COVID. It's come back a little bit, but it ain't really back. So anyhow, the subject for today is Zon Data. And remember, he's one of the first punk rockers I ever met. I knew Jerry Agony. I knew Nick Berlin. I met this girl, Janet, right? And they were like the first punk rockers. And then Zon. And I told you the story about Zon, about like going out to East New York to audition for this band. And they wouldn't let me audition because I didn't have the right kind of guitar and right kind of amp. And then he was like, come play with us, and then I guess that's when I joined the Pop Tones, and it's even before I joined the Outsets or anything. I was still playing with Eddie D. But Zon, he was Dean DeRocco, and he was from, I think he was from 194 Hemlock Street in East New York, Brooklyn, which is funny because Jerry Nolan, the New York Dolls drummer and Heartbreakers drummer, is also from East New York, and he was from the next street over. He was from, I believe, Crescent Street, but he's like the same block between Fulton Street and Atlantic Avenue. So a lot of rock and roll came out of East New York, and if you're not from New York, East New York is also the neighborhood in that movie Goodfellas, where all those guys were from. So Zon definitely was a good fellow, though. Everybody in my family loved him. The thing about Zon, he was such a street kid, and he was a very feral guy. He didn't go to school. He didn't really participate in society. He was like a real punk rocker. He dropped out of society. His whole attitude was fuck society, right? So he lived in the squats. He lived on the street. He never really. And he worked at a music store for a little while, but he never really got his shit together, even organizationally enough for the Pop Tones to be productive. Like, we played a few shows, played shows without me too. He was very gracious to have me in the band as his guitar player, but he was a fantastic guitar player, fantastic songwriter. He was a good-looking guy. He was very Italian-looking. He had this incredible hair that went like straight up, like big, spiky punk rock haircut, but it went a foot up into the sky, just great hair, all his hair, unlike me. And he was tall. He was tall, about 6 foot tall, but very skinny and kind of lanky. And he was one of these people that was kind of born to be a rock star. He had a way with people. He had a way with women. But then he was a big thinker and a big dreamer. But he didn't really have any self-discipline. And that's what did him in. But he did things in punk rock that I heard hardcore bands doing years later, or black metal bands or whatever, or thrash metal. I mean, you could split hairs, but like Voivod or like Celtic Frost, okay, especially Celtic Frost, Voivod, and and he was doing stuff like that years before. When I met him in 1978, like he would have songs like, this is not a song of his, but his way he moved the chords around, like that, you know, in 1978. And now I know that they're all scales. They're all based on scales from Sicily and from the Arabs and like the Middle East, you know. But he had that kind of weird harmony stuff way before anybody else. He just dreamed it up in his mind, you know. And he kind of was like Dion from Dion and the Belmonts, you know. He was like this Italian kid from East New York. He was tough as nails, but no matter how fucked up he was, because he was way into that angel dust stuff, you know. And I did it, but I didn't get into it. Like, I would do it, but then I'd be so grossed out from it. I just, you know, like once in a while I'd be like, oh, let me try it again and see if I'm gonna have a good trip this time. But you know, it wasn't my bag. But dust was his bag. And if you want to make sure that nothing gets done, be on dust. Let me tell you right now. So here's a couple of stories on Zon. He was living in this building right under the train tracks on Jamaica Avenue in East New York, like right under the J train. And there was angel dust dealers in the apartment across the air shaft from him. Okay, so he had this big air shaft, like 5-6 stories down. Like, if you fell, you'd be crippled for life if you didn't get killed outright. Okay, so it was pretty serious fall. But he had this big board, like this big 15-foot, like 4x4 piece of wood that he he copped from some construction site, ran down the street with it. So he would wait and wait and wait for the angel dust dealers to go to breakfast, to go out, and he'd put the board across the air shaft and slither on this fucking board across, go into their apartment and steal dust, and then slither back across. And he would do it every day. That's how he got his dust supply. Right? And another thing that he did is, I met this wonderful lady, you know, she's the mother of both my daughters, and I met her, and it was Joey Miserable and the Worms were playing Folk City, right? And Raven introduced me to her, and they said, what are you doing after our show? I'm going over to A7 to a hardcore show, and the Pop Tones are playing. And so we went over there after Joey Miserable and the Worms. That was not a hardcore band. We were like a jump blues, rockabilly, American roots band. We were not, despite the punk name, we weren't a punk band. We played rock and roll, right? So basically we go over to A7, and I still remember this, okay, because it was UXA played, all right, and then High Sheriffs of Blue, and then it was the Pop Tones, and then it was Mark Truth and the Solar System. And Mark Truth was one of those guys that used to hang out in Washington Square Park, like he was over in the West Side, but he would all dress up like Mick Jagger. Like Washington Square Park was really weird like that. There was always one guy dressed up like Jimi Hendrix, right? There was always one guy dressed up like Bob Dylan with that fisherman's cap and the Bob Dylan sweater and whatever. And then there was always one guy dressed up like Mick Jagger. So, and then there was always some Jim Morrison. So like everybody would dress up like their favorite rock star, and they would just go banging away on acoustic guitar. They fucking were terrible, most of them. You couldn't listen to them. So Mark Truth was always there, like dressed up like Mick Jagger with that hat. I don't know, that Crusher hat, the Velvet Crusher hat, and like velvet pants and like, you know, all dressed up with the Rolling Stones like rooster haircut. Like, I know I'm making fun of people's hair. I don't got no fucking hair. I shouldn't make fun of nobody's hair. I don't got none myself, you know, but I'm being a fucking asshole because like I'm fucking jealous. It's the emperor's new fucking clothes. All right, so anyway, and then, you know, he would just be over there and he'd be like, you know, it's all right, baby. Show me that flash. Like he thought he was fucking Mick Jagger, you know, with the scarf and the whole fucking thing, you know. And so he's over there. So all of a sudden now, it's 1983. Hardcore's been around for a few years now. It's not. Hardcore's been around, you know. We've been already through like Black Flag and you know, all the DC guys, Minor Threat, the Bad Brains, you know, Motorhead came over. I mean, you know, Exploited came over. I mean, they're hard, you know, all the fucking bands, Antidote, Ultraviolence. So they were on that bill too. So it was like Ultraviolence, Pop Tones. But now Mark Truth decides he's going to jump on the hardcore bandwagon, and he's going to try to cash in on hardcore. Like, yeah, you're going to make $1 million playing A7, motherfucker. Yeah, you really, you know. So he's got this band. So, like, I was going to play bass with the Pop Tones, and then UXA was going to borrow. They were on the road. They would come from California. So they were a touring band. They were going to borrow my bass because I guess all their bass was in the pawn shop because they needed hair on or something, tell you the truth. And then it was like Ultraviolence played, right? They were great. And then High Sheriffs of Blue I always loved because they were like blues hardcore, you know. They would like play really fat. They would play like fucking Kokomo Arnold songs, but with a hardcore beat. They were like, people don't remember them anymore, but I loved them. They were like right up my alley of mixing blues and punk, you know. That's my thing. So and then the Pop Tones going to go on last, right? So Mark Truth goes on before the Pop Tones, and he gets up there, and his band, he's got these kids, you know, from various, they just look like any bunch of random kids that you'd find on a subway car, and they can't tune, and they're trying to tune up. And remember, every band played a 20-minute set. So the whole thing was you got up there, you have 5 minutes, you plugged in, make sure your amp worked, and went and you blasted out like 8 or 9 songs, 20 minutes, you're done, next band. That was the whole thing, you know what I mean? Like hit and run, you get in together. So they took like 18 minutes to tune. They just could not tune up. I think the whole band was dusted, right? Or maybe they just literally did not know how to tune their instruments. Like Mark Truth, like somehow just grabbed these people and inveigled them into playing the show. But so then they started playing, and it just sounded like this. It sounded like the worst train wreck. Like the drummer was like, and the guitar player was like there was nothing. They had nothing. Ugats. So Mark Truth gets up and he starts spinning around. He's still got the Mick Jagger leather pants on and the scarf, and he's yelling in the mic, "Hardcore, hardcore!" And then he's like spinning around and pirouetting like Mick. Like he doesn't get it, you know. He's like a fucking square. He doesn't get it. So like they're tuning up, so we're all yelling, "Come on, man, you could do it. You could get that motherfucker a tune. Come on, you could do it, bro. You could do it, Holmes." Like, you know, we're like mocking him. So then he takes his pants off, right? So like I kind of cover my eyes. Like I'm not a homophobe or nothing. I just don't really like to look at other men naked. That's not my bag. If that's your bag, I support you, but it ain't my bag, Dad. So so my kid's mom, she says to me, "Oh my God, he's got a really small dick. Oh my God, he's got pimples on his ass." I got my eyes covered. So Zon grabs Mark Truth's leather pants, Meanwhile, the skinheads are throwing lit matches, trying to hit Mark Truth in the dick with lit matches. They're trying to hit him, and they hit him in the ass with a fucking lit match. They get him in the dick, and he's up on stage. The band is still like, it's a fucking disaster. The band is still like, they can't start a song or tune up or something, you know, like. So we run, a bunch of us run out of the club with Mark Truth's pants, and you hear him over the PA, my pants, my pants, because now he's got nothing. He's fucking in the A7 with his schwanz hanging out. Now he's got nothing. Like, he can't roll it up. He's committed to being a nudist now, you know. And we run into Tompkins Square Park, and Zon's got the pants, and we tie the pants to the flagpole in Tompkins Square Park, and we run his fucking leather pants up the fucking flagpole in so they're flying all the way up there, you know. And then then UXA, they tried to run out of A7 with my bass. I had to grab them. I was like, "Where are you going with my bass, yo?" I mean, it was just a beat up old Tysco Del Rey bass I found in the garbage, but I was like, "Yo," I grabbed my bass back. I was like, "Where do you think you're going with that shit, California boy?" You know. So then the Pop Tones played. You know, it was like one of the few times I actually ever played with them, you know, live. Like Zon, like I said, it was the dust. And he used to call my mother at 3 in the morning and start crying on the phone and cry to my mother how he's all fucked up on dust and he can't quit. And my mom was like, "Oh, you're such a nice boy, Zon. Why don't you come over and have dinner? I'll order us Chinese food. You should come over and hang out with my son. You're such a nice boy." Meanwhile, Zon's telling her, "I'm all fucked up on angel dust. I can't stop." Blah, blah. Another time, you know, my mother loved Zon, you know, and my brother doesn't like anybody. He doesn't like anybody, but he loved Zon. And he was like, you know, everybody loved this guy. The thing is, no matter how fucked up he was, no matter how strung out he was, he had some kind of code of honor. He wouldn't steal from you. He wouldn't, like, he would be over to my house where I was living with my kid's mom, you know, like, and he wouldn't rob, like, the $2 that we had. He wouldn't try to steal nothing. He wouldn't try to borrow your guitar and then pawn it. He had some kind of, no matter how fucked up he was a man. He had fucking honor and respect in that, like, old school, like, you know, that old school way, man. That, you know, then one time he kind of became like this half-ass pimp, right? He was pimping and he had a couple of girls out in the street and they got him into the fucking heroin. See, before that he was a duster, but now he got deep into the heroin. So he comes over. Now, these were different times. Like, if you wanted to come to my house, you just walked over and you yelled, "Simon!" or shit, you know, "Simon!" or whatever. And, you know, we'd hang out. Yeah, it's Rockaway still like that, but, like, that's the way the East Side was back then. So he came over to Ludlow Street, and Simon, he came up, and he was like, he said to my kid's mom, I'm not naming her name because I don't want to drag her into, like, my fucked up life, you know. He says, "Do you have a knife?" So he sits down at the kitchen table, and we're like, "Hey, Zon, you want something to eat, man?" We were just making, like, some fried potatoes. You want to eat some fried potatoes or something? So we fed him. He ate something. We gave him a cup of coffee. He's hanging out, but he's like, "Oh, man, I feel pretty sick." So he takes his leather jacket off. It's like July, and he's walking around in a leather jacket. He's got this abscess in his arm, like this. It's the size of a fucking, like, orange. It's like, boom, out there, and it's all like, wow, like sticking out from hooking with a dirty needle, right? And he got this abscess, and he asks Cindy for a knife. So she gives him. I don't know why he asks her for a knife, because he probably carried a fucking knife himself, as you'll see later, right? So He takes the knife and he just goes boom, and he cuts the abscess open, and the pus just fucking comes out of his arm like woo, like it's just and it smells like fucking pus. It smells bad, you know. It smells like something dead. So my kid's mom, she's like screaming, ah! Ah! And it's all getting all over the kitchen table. You know, we had like this one room apartment. It was like a railroad, one little room with a loft, and then the kitchen. You walked in, you was in the kitchen, and there was a little bathroom in back with a tub, we didn't have the tub in the kitchen, like most people in the East Side. Then they had the tub right in the middle of the kitchen, so you took your bath in front of everybody, you know. But we didn't have that. We had a little better than that, but the fucking pus, it's everywhere, blood, it's coming down. So like he just cut the thing over. And then I was like, Zon, this ain't gonna go away. You gotta go to the hospital, man. So like he had to go to the hospital. We went to visit him in the hospital, and he loved it. He was like, this is great. They gave me methadone, and I just watched TV all day, and they gave me 3 meals a day. I don't ever want to go. I don't ever want to leave. I want them to keep me here forever. This is the life. I love it. Meanwhile, he's in Bellevue in this ward with these people like, you know, all fucked up, like shitting themselves and out of their mind and shit, and like people that got shot, stabbed, and people that are like, you know, and he thinks this is like the fucking life of Riley over there. Like, oh man. The third and the third story on him is one time me, my kid's mom, and my brother and him, we were walking around the East Side. I think we were just looking for something to do. It was Halloween. We went to the CBGB's hardcore matinee. You couldn't get in. It was the CB's was full. It was the Misfits were playing. I remember that, and a whole bunch of other bands. So we're just doing what people did in those days. You just hung around outside the show. There was as many people outside the show as inside. So if you couldn't get into the show, you didn't have any money, or you hated all the bands, you just went and hung outside. You know, it was like something. So we were hanging out. And we're throwing eggs at cop cars and taxis. And I remember this one punk rocker, he got an egg right through a cab window. And then Zon had an egg, and he hooked it right through a fucking cop car window. And the cops got out, and they were all wearing Halloween costumes, like clown masks and shit. And they were really cool. They were like, hey, kids, you can't do that, okay? Stop. Don't throw eggs at cop cars, all right? I got to tell my boss why there's eggs all over the inside of my car. He's gonna break my balls. Okay, do me a favor, kids. Like that's the way the cops were back then. They might beat you, they might rob you, but they weren't like, you know, now they weren't like the militarized police like we got nowadays. They were like street guys like us. You know, they were like the same people as us. They just were on the other side of the law. So we could kind of communicate better than now, you know. So we walk over. We just got nothing, you know. We're just walking around. It's Halloween. It's kind of warm out. So this cab comes, and Zon jumps on the hood of the cab, right with him down. The cab takes off. Zon stands up on the hood like a surfer or a Roman gladiator or something. And he's like on the hood like this. And the cab driver's terrified. He's horrified. He's got this fucking guy that looks like Sid Vicious on the fucking hood of his cab. So he takes off, and he makes like 40 miles an hour down First Avenue, and then hits the brakes. Zon joins the birds. He takes off. He flies through the air, and then he hits the pavement, and he just rolls. He's ragdoll. He gets up, and he goes over to the cab. Wow, man, that was fucking great. Wow, what a rush, man. Thank you. Thank you. And cab takes off. And then the last story is when I was working at Tommy Wombat's pot store on 83rd Street. Of course, I said, hey, Zon, come up with me. We're going to work for Tommy Wombat. He'll give us some weed. You know, we can smoke some weed, hang out. So, of course, Zon was always up for, like, you know, going to hang out anywhere. So we go to the Upper East Side to 83rd Street and York Avenue to Tommy Wombat's weed store. And, you know, we're up there, and, you know, we're up there. I do my shift at the store, you know, get a little bit of weed. So we're gonna walk down. We're walking, and these guys come around the corner, and they all have like mullets and cop mustaches and aviator shades, and they have like denim jackets that say Leonard Skinner with like Confederate fucking shit on it and everything. Like these guys are like, you know, like Leonard Skinner, you know, like great, like fucking throwbacks to classic rock, right? So actually, I think Leonard Skinner is a really good fucking band, but you know, these guys not so much. So they come up to us and they're trying to fuck with us because we did look weird, you know. Zon always looked like he could have been Sid Vicious, and I just looked like shit, like always, you know. I always looked shitty no matter what I did. So uh, they're trying to fuck with us. There's like 8 or 9 of them. There's 2 of us. They come up and they block us in the streets, and we're standing there. And this one kid comes up to me and he's like that, and then they all come around us. So like, you know, Zon's right there. Zon is standing there. We're like, okay, let's see what happens. Let's wait. Let these guys make a fucking move on us. So Zon's got his denim jacket over his leather jacket, and he just comes out like this, boom, and stabs this motherfucker right here. He gets him right here like this, boom, and you heard the sound of the fucking knife going in. And you could hear like cartilage and shit. And now the guy's like this, and he runs, and all his friends run, and we ran the other way. Like, but that's the thing about Zon, you know. He's from fucking East New York. He ain't gonna take shit from nobody in the Upper East Side. And I still miss that motherfucker. My brother loved him. My brother ran into him right before he died, and he bought him a pizza and gave him $10, you know. Like, he only lived to be 28. He only lived to be 28. I still miss that motherfucker. He wouldn't even be that old now. He'd be in his late 50s, you know. And I think his sister is still around. But Dean DiRocco, Zon Data, those are like, I'll leave you with one more story on him. We were playing a squat on between B and C on 9th Street. So it was like right around the corner from C Squat, right across the street from 713, where it was the squat was on live. But we were playing this other squat, and 2 Minutes Hate and the Pop Tones, and then some hippie band. So 2 Minutes Hate went on. They were always fucking hilarious. I mean, they're like, you know, they were like G.G. Allen, but a lot funnier, you know. So anyway, naturally, it's the Pop Tones, and it's time for them to play. And they're trying to wake Zon's in the corner. He's asleep. He's just out. And like everybody's trying to wake him up. The people from my kid's mom played in 2 Minutes Hate, so she's trying to wake him up. And then, you know, Jerry Price is trying to, and come on, Zon, wake up, come on, play. And he wakes up. He's like, oh, probably hadn't slept in days, right? Whoa, what? Come on, man, wake up. It's time to play, man. Come on, man. And he goes, I was awake before. And he goes back to sleep. But they woke him up and he played, and they were fucking great, you know. So that's my Zon stories. And thank you guys very much. Simon Chartier's New York stories, as always. And over and out. I know these are, you know, I know these aren't like really slickly produced as shit, but I gotta tell you, from the bottom of my heart, I don't give a shit. All right, take care, kids.